That's awesome. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Marketing Trench. It feels weird to be in Dustin's shoes doing the intro, but here we are. This week's episode is like, for me, this is exciting because I think Jesse and I met a few weeks ago. I don't even remember what conference it was. I think we met like prior to Inman, and then we met at EXPCon face to face.
Yeah.
What you guys do is pretty awesome. I know Scott has, done handwritten note cards before. Scott and I are like tinkerers. We love when people are creative in their marketing. I think your product is unique, and I think you as a person are just like a brilliant, absolute creative. In other words, you're the type of person we like to jam with.
Awesome.
So today we kind of want to talk about like some old school strategies that when you merge with some of the stuff that you're doing digitally, like how can we make old school marketing tactics unique and effective out in the marketplace? So, Jesse, with that being said, welcome to the show. It's awesome to have you here. But for those of us that don't know you, like, tell us who you are, what you do.
Well, thanks, Ricardo and Scott, for having me. Really appreciate it. Of course. So, yeah, I've been a tech entrepreneur for about 25 years. And if you guys have this entire podcast episode, I could tell you about all the things that haven't worked out.
That's awesome.
If you have the next 2 minutes, I'll tell you about the things that have done okay. And I've been at the right place at the right time. And honestly, without any false modesty, because it's true, have been fortunate to work around some incredible people who've made me look good. It's true. And I got in it early. I started my first one in the late 90s. It was mercifully short-lived, classic dot bomb. It was an online retailer. We launched right around the time Google launched, and it didn't quite work out, but I learned how to send email and build sales funnels and build a website. And so then I started an interactive agency in 2000 with an incredible business partner, and we grew it into a $30 million interactive agency. We did a lot of media buying arbitrage, and this is sort of at the beginning of AdWords and pop-up ads and you name it. And we got it acquired in 2005. We sold it to this great company. And then around that time, I got interested in domaining, this weird little pocket of the internet where people, like the landholders of the internet, right? And I started going to these weird conferences. They were called Traffic. And we go, and these are the people that bought razorblades.com after Gillette let it expire after 2000. Because you remember, like, the internet was kind of declared dead, kind of, among a lot of people. And so I ended up buying in 2005, 2006, hobbies.com. I bought yachting.com, boating.com, biking, barbecue. I got into these like enthusiast category defining domain names. But the one that really took off was sportsmemorabilia.com. Bought that, and we grew it into the biggest autograph store on the internet, top 500 internet retailer, and sold it to Fanatics in 2013. And really proud to say that now, 8 years later, the framers, warehouse workers, executives, marketers, everyone still loves their jobs. And
that's awesome.
An incredible place to work. And in between then, I started this. My wife and I were in a Sephora, and we were at the register, and I'm like bored out of my skull. And she has this, skin cream, and it's like $60. This is like, I don't know, 15 years ago. I'm like, what? I'm your prototypical guy. Like, what? There's like costs more than $4 for a cream. Like, well, where is this section? This little section? And it turns out half the store, right? Half the store was like this. And so I called laboratories in France and US, and we had this incredible high-end skin cream developed. This is in kind of 06, 07. And we grew it into a full-fledged line of high-end skin care products. And we marketed exclusively on the internet. And we grew it to $50 million in sales and about 150 employees. Sold it in 2009. And around that time, sold that, and then sold the memorabilia business. And at the memorabilia business, we would send handwritten notes from time to time to customers. And we noticed that the customers that received notes became collectors. So if someone bought, a Michael Jordan autographed, Gatorade dunk shot photo, we noticed that they had a higher likelihood, if they had received a handwritten note from us, of turning from a customer into a collector. And I was like, God, there's something to this, and my grandfather was actually completely obsessed with handwritten notes, and he was my hero in life. And he would write, he and my grandmother traveled to over 100 countries together. And he would come back, and then they would have these postcards printed. And then he would write to prospects and customers, and I would watch him doing this. And then fast forward to graduate school. And after I graduated from my MBA, which he was an incredible human being, he and my grandmother, to fund my education. And he handed me a fountain pen as my graduation gift. And he said, with handwritten notes, you can connect with anyone. And that really Inception style, that really got into me.
Yeah.
And then the memorabilia thing. And I was like, but there was no scale to the human writing of the notes, right? I noticed that the handwriting was often embarrassing, and you couldn't run campaigns with it and stuff. And so that kind of led, and we'll talk about it later if you guys want, but that kind of led to Audience, which is the company that I'm completely obsessed with. And we're serving customers, and we love it. And it's the note, but as you'll see in a sec, this podcast is about the art of, the handwritten letter. But the key with the handwritten letter is it's not just about the note. The note is a Trojan horse, actually. So the note is incredible and drives amazing ROI on its own. But what it does is it gives you license then to reach out by email, to reach out via channels that would ordinarily be ice cold. But instead, you can reach out and say, did you receive my handwritten note, in a subject line or in a LinkedIn connection request? And it gets those emails get a 12% response rate, which is unheard of for ice cold emails. And so that's why I named the company Audience, because it's all about taking an ice cold audience and turning it into a warm audience. And once you have a warm audience as a marketer, you win. So thanks for letting me do that little monologue. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so that's great. So I was going through your website, and I kind of saw that part of the story. Like Ricardo said, we've used Handwritten, I think, and it's a writing service, right? So it's a robotic writing service, but you've really kind of created this marketing strategy around this, and you're using handwritten notes as prospecting tools. That's right. And that's pretty slick, man. That's smart. You're right, Ricardo. That's pretty good stuff, man.
So
really cool.
walk us through that, Jesse. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's cool. So what you can do, I want to make this much broader gauge than me sitting here and selling my service. I want to really leave your listeners or your viewers with a lot of take-home value that they can map to their own businesses, whether they do business with me or not. And so what can you do with the handwritten note? It's really cool. So first of all, we do the lead generation for you. So if you're a real estate agent, and so we do a lot of work with real estate agents, mortgage brokers, insurance. Let's pick those sectors. So it's really important because this is a pretty expensive advertising impression. It's much more than a Facebook advertising impression or printed postcard. It's about 2.5 times the cost of a printed postcard. It gets 6 times the response just in the first 30 days. So you have to be really strategic before you send a single note about who are you going to drop notes into.
Yeah.
Right? And you want to take out a scalpel and really be surgical about that. And so we have now combined 8 different databases, and we have about 200 filters. So if you just want to hit, apartments that are 3 bedrooms and above in a certain location, and you want to lasso certain street boundaries, and you just want owners age 50 plus, and you want people with at least 30% equity in their homes, and you want the COO to be issued at least 8 years ago, and you like this golf club, but not that golf club, and you just want waterfront properties here, but not there. You can pick and choose and only send notes to if you're a real estate agent, the most likely to sell properties. If you're a mortgage broker, the folks that are most likely to, let's say, do a refi or whatnot. And so we realized early on that that was a really important component of it, is what comes before you deliver the advertising impression. And then we do all kinds of fun stuff within that. So for example, in any area where the properties are $1 million plus, at least a quarter of them are going to be owned by corps and LLCs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually get behind those properties and those corporate entities. Everything we do is completely white hat on the right side of the foul line and but we're tech people first and foremost. And that's why the company's called Audience and not something old school. This is, as Scott alluded to, this is a marketing platform. And so we get behind the LLCs and corps. And so instead of it going to, Bueno LLC or whatnot, it actually, the note will be addressed to Ricardo Bueno, much higher open and response. And then what we call keep rate, and then the rate at which people keep and display it. And so that's what so if you're going to do handwritten notes, guys, whether it's with us or with someone else, you want to optimize the front of the note, often neglected. Okay. And you want a character count right around 650, 700 characters is the ideal character count. Character count correlates with response, but only to a certain extent. And then after that, there's actually diminishing returns to that. And it could actually be reverse correlated because it gets a little creepy if you send them War and Peace all of a sudden. But you want to make sure that you put something on the front of the note that resonates with their neighborhood. And so pick a landmark, pick a local landmark. Don't put your logo on the front of the note. Don't put a photo in front of the note. If you're an insurance, that's tempting, but who wants to put on their mantle or their kitchen counter or their home office?
I feel like we have a pretty high propensity to want to make it about ourselves and slap ourselves on there.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, it's what's sold. I mean, it's what's sold to salespeople, and it's what's been sold to the real estate salespeople and mortgage salespeople for decades, right? It's about self-promotion. But since the age of the internet and the age of information, consumers don't care necessarily about who you work for. They want to make some sort of a personal connection. Now, Jesse, the first thing that I'm thinking is, how the heck would I know what to write in a note? So I assume that you have different strategies with basically proven copy.
Yeah, we have a proven copy, and we know, again, we're digital marketers before anything else. So we put a QR code.
I love that.
Everyone, and it has a little scan me doodle on there, and it's super cool because we have all this scan data. And by the way, when these tie back, we have individual QR code labels for each note. And so when someone scans it, yes, it'll take them to the profile page of that agent or whomever. But the person who scanned it doesn't even need to reach out to them, because
it's like the old pearls, right?
Yeah,
the personal URLs, and you can trace it back to wow.
You got it. And so we ping a little intermediary URL on the way to the destination URL, and then we send our client a real-time email alert saying that Jane Smith at 123 Main Street go after her.
No way.
We also mine all the email addresses of all the note recipients. And we find not only the email addresses that are associated with the property tax records, but then we go and we query different sources that are really hard to find to triangulate into their work emails as well. And then we deliver that when we start an engagement, because modern marketing is integrated, right? So one of the things that I'd love listeners to take away is, like, if you're a modern marketer, like, it has to all be integrated, because it's just about creating the familiarity and consistency and usefulness that leads to trust, right? And then trust breeds cash. And so you want to, if you send the note, never do it in isolation, right? You need to then email, but you don't have their email. So we solve that problem. And then what do you do with the emails? First thing, you import them into your MailChimp or into your Follow Up Boss, or whatever CRM you're using, or whatever email newsletter marketing software you're using, if you're using Constant Contact or whatnot. And now everyone in your farm is receiving your email newsletters. And then you can email them after you send the note. We make it really, really easy on autopilot, actually, to send them an email with that magic subject line that says, "Did you receive my handwritten note?" And then we go in and we find their LinkedIn profile URL, which is gold. because LinkedIn is trying to become a social network. So you get an incredible amount, everybody, of organic reach when you post on LinkedIn. It's not like Facebook or Instagram where it might show up on feeds, a handful of feeds for a couple minutes, and then it's gone. LinkedIn, you really get an embarrassing amount of organic reach. So that people think it's just for job searchers or whatever. Couldn't be further from it. Like, so you want to connect with everybody. You can have up to 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. So you want to connect with everybody in your farm. We give you all the LinkedIn profile URLs so you can connect with them. And now the next piece of content, let's say you're a real estate agent, the next piece of content you post, let's say it's the 4 home staging secrets to selling your home for top dollar, or it's, the 5 questions to ask your real estate agent before selling your home, or it's a quote card or a meme or an infographic that shows like home prices in the area or whatnot. The next time you post a piece of content on LinkedIn, everyone who you're connected to will see that in their feed. And that's gold right there. So the whole approach has to be integrated.
So I want to kind of unpack this a little bit, and let's use a hypothetical scenario. Maybe what's the most common and maybe the most effective campaign that you're sending? Is it like for listings, is it home sellers, refinances? What would it be?
Yeah, everyone's looking for listings. Listings are gold. And so these notes and the way that we do the campaigns, there's a lot under the covers that I haven't talked about, but the way that we do it, it makes it so real estate agents who send them, for example, do a really great job of driving new listings, even in extremely tight markets. For example, Miami, New York, it's unbelievable. And they're all fighting over neighborhoods, not fighting, they're all jockeying for position for different neighborhoods with our notes, because they realize that it doesn't matter whether they have no business farming. Let's pretend that you've never farmed in Brooklyn before, and you're in Lower Manhattan, and you've never farmed Williamsburg before. Don't be shy. The handwritten note does such a good job of just rising above the noise, combined with the digital marketing, and then the way that we do the notes, that you can farm anywhere and drive new listings.
Could you kind of give us an example of what one of those campaigns looks like, and sort of differentiate between where, like, what your company handles and then best practices for what the agent's responsibility is, or what they can do to build on those results or increase conversion on their side? Because you've kind of mentioned a couple of different tools. I'd love to sort of walk through a scenario. Let's say you're going to Brooklyn. So a note goes out. What's the gist of those 600 to 700 characters? What's the story on the note?
So because of the QR code, I know I really got super excited about the QR codes. Because of the QR code scans, we know all the note templates that are working. And then we're able, in the onboarding call, to show them all the winning note templates. And they can edit them to their heart's content. They can start over and create a new note. But we show them all the winning note templates. And we drop in 5. That's
got to be like a ton of just analytics data.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. And it's always changing. And so we're able to figure
You're not
out
speculating. You're literally making a data-driven decision.
Yeah.
Or a data-driven recommendation.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so we're able to engineer into exactly the front of note creative. Even the color of the pen we figured out by testing 75 different pens.
That's ridiculous.
And it's really fun.
By testing how many pens?
75 different pens.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
So like ballpoint, felt tip.
You're kidding me.
Silver pen on black paper, you name it. And we're starting to do different color envelopes, different color notes here. We're starting to really mix it up. We're starting to print. We're starting to plot on Post-it notes, and we're just having fun with the medium. And there's a lot to it. But what we do typically, so let's say you're farming Williamsburg, we'll send 5 notes a year to each household, and we'll typically, a typical farm is between 500 and 1,500 households, depending on how long you've been at it, depending on the size of your team. If you have an assistant to handle the inbound activity, because these notes with the digital marketing, they produce a lot of inbound activity, and which leads to new listing appointments and new listings. So you want to be able to make sure you can handle the activity. For example, we were dealing with one of the top agents in Miami who did his first mailer with us. He had to pause his campaign for 2 months because to process the activity. Yeah, because 100% of the recipients think it's handwritten. And by the way, you're not doing a bait and switch here at all. You're not deceiving anybody. You're actually saving a lot of human labor. Anyone that's written.
So hold on for a second, because that's important.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, people will say, "Well, no, that's inauthentic. I don't want to do that."
Yeah, no, I mean, the opposite. Anyone who's written more than 5 of these notes will tell you that they would rather give themselves a root canal with no anesthesia.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right? No, it is a totally now, if you are writing a condolence note,
you start cramping by like
you're wearing the carpal tunnels brace after, you'd rather flip burgers, you'd rather bag groceries, you'd rather do anything. This is not this is super, super manual and painful work, and the handwriting's not there. What you're doing is, this is important, no matter how nice you think your handwriting is, once you write a bunch of notes, you're actually doing the recipient a real disservice, because now they have to read through your chicken scratch. And our handwriting, and this is one way we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace in a whole bunch of different ways. It's double the character count, for example, but the handwriting, which is kind of like the foundation of this marketing channel, is the handwriting totally human looking, but also, is it easy on the eyes? Is it clear? The penmanship clear? And our machines, actually, no one A is the same, no one B is the same. They make intentional defects, intentional blemishes. We vary up the left and right. We vary up the left and right margins, the character spacing, line spacing, paragraph spacing, all varied up, even synonym replacement. So 2 neighbors can hold up notes by the sent from the same kind of text, and they look different. And so we do all of that in the service of the end customer, so that they'll get the highest responses possible from these notes. So typically, like in a campaign, back to the Williamsburg thing, we'll send out 5 notes in a year, and each note will have a different front of note graphic, and they'll have a totally different text on the inside. Of course, a unique QR code sticker as well. And we even take another differentiator for us is we'll inventory items that you send us. And so you can send us business cards, you can send us market reports. We even combine gifts with a note. So if you just did a house closing, and we have another way we're differentiated is we have an incredible app where you can upload photos that are unique on the front. And so if you just sold a house to Jane Smith and you go over to Jane's place with a bottle of champagne, you guys toast, and you take a selfie with you and Jane, as you're walking out, within 20 seconds from our app, you can send her a note with the photo you just took on the front, and combine it with a Nest candle, combine it with a personalized charcuterie board, combine it with a succulent gift box set, combine it with Serafina gummies. We've chosen like 10 awesome gifts in different price ranges. The gift is combined with the note, and it's shipped, and then Jane receives it a couple days later. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so let's go back to the process. So you're sending the notes. The notes go out. The QR code is typically going to a landing page that you create, or like the
recipient would create
the recipient's website or something,
or like
that, right?
the agent would create.
That's right. And the agent creates, and you can go crazy on that. For example, Frederick Eklund, the $1 million listing guy, loves our notes, and he's has created different landing pages. So if someone from Pacific Palisades in LA scans the note, it'll take them to a specific landing page with a video where Frederick says, "Hey, welcome, Pacific Palisades residents. Thanks for scanning my note." And then he'll talk. And then if someone who owns a townhouse in New York City scans one of Frederick's notes, it goes to a different lander. So you can have it go to a landing page of your choice.
So you said you're collecting the data and you're appending the data. Are you then just sending that data to the customer, to the agent?
Yes.
Is that what's going on? Because it also sounded like
what I think is different. What I think is different here, for example, Scott, and I'm not sure if this was entirely explicit. other services, you're typically providing your data to the company, and then
100%.
they mail for you. Here, it's like instead of going to your title company and getting data, you're literally getting that data straight from audience.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot more.
You can send over your sphere. Of course, you can send over your sphere.
Yeah.
Your sphere all day long. We'll even enrich your sphere with emails and LinkedIn profiles.
Oh, wow.
And we'll get behind the properties that are owned by LLCs and corps too.
That's the part that I was asking is you said that there were emails that you were dropping emails to these people on their LinkedIn profiles. Is that also part of your service?
It is part of our service. So everything it's an all-in-one platform. It's basically what we learned from real estate agents, for example, early on is like, wake me when it's over. Like when if I'm having, what was that?
No, you're 100% right. That's all, this is a lot of moving parts and it's hard and everybody sees it and they're like, that's fantastic. Who can do it for me?
Exactly. And it's not out of laziness. It's more like, hey, if I'm trying to generate my farm and my leads myself, the cash register is not ringing. Like, and that's not the best and highest use of my time. And so we've gotten really good at that piece of it. And that's essential to do really smart lead generation. And so you're dropping the notes into the most likely to sell properties. And you just get a lot more out of the marketing medium when you do that. And then you have to be a chess player, not a checkers player about the actual notes after they go in. It's like, okay, how can I kind of like eat all the meat off the marketing bone at this point? Because I've just sent them a note, and then 10 weeks later, another note goes in, and another note, all with different front of note graphics. Now they're collecting them because we make them bifold, so people just put them right on their kitchen counter or whatnot. And now you need to drop in the emails, right? You need to drop in the LinkedIn connection requests. And a great tool for LinkedIn, automated LinkedIn, is called Octopus CRM, by the way. I love that tool. It's just a Chrome plugin, and you can use it to just automatically connect with people. And you can even build funnels. And so a week later, you can endorse their skills and so forth. And so Octopus CRM is a really good tool for that.
So do the subsequent postcards, do they change depending on any engagement that the client might have or the consumer might have? So if they scan the QR code on the first one, does that change the message on the second postcard?
So that doesn't happen. But if they become a client, for example, and sell them a home, we detect it and we remove them from the mail list. And the leads that we generate for them are actually dynamic. And so if they like property owners that have at least 30% equity in their homes, where the COO was issued at least 8 years ago, where they choose 7 or 8 different filters, or or they like nod listings, or they like FSBOs, or they like pre-foreclosures, or whatever. If the criteria from mailer 1 to mailer 2 changes, and there's certain households that fit those criteria and certain that don't, we revise the mailing list accordingly. And so every month you're guaranteed to drop handwritten notes only into households that fit your exact criteria.
Okay, so you're sending out the postcards. You have some mechanism under your umbrella, under your marketing services, where you're connecting with them on LinkedIn. You're dropping marketing messages on LinkedIn. Is there also an email component to this?
Yes, there's an email component as well. And we don't automate that because you don't want to automate the process of sending, 600 or 800 emails. If it's an email newsletter, and Follow Up Boss does a tremendous job of this, of seasoning IPs and then making sure that you have really high deliverability into the inbox. But when you're sending brand new emails with a subject line, "Did you receive my handwritten note?" It doesn't look like an email newsletter anymore. If you try to send hundreds of those at a time, chances are in Gmail, for example, you could push to the promotions tab if you're lucky, but chances are you'll go right to junk. And so what we do is we deliver a spreadsheet, and we have links that they click on. And it's amazing. You click on a link and it opens up a fully filled out email with the subject, the person's email address, the subject line, and the body of the email. The subject line says, "Did you receive my handwritten note?" And then the body says, "Hi, Jane. I just wanted to make sure that you got the handwritten note I sent to this address. And then it has her address there. Totally innocuous, totally harmless. And that's the thing that gets a crazy response rate. So yes, the email thing is on autopilot, basically.
Okay, so this is you keep dropping all of these bombs and you're doing it so nonchalantly. And I'm trying to put it in, I'm trying to put this whole thing into context.
Awesome.
So like so far you've talked about 3 different contact and communication strategies that are completely not mainstream. Nobody's talking about this, nobody's doing this. Right. So you're dropping these postcards, you're dropping them a link on LinkedIn, you're sending me, I'm your customer, you're sending me a spreadsheet of all of the postcards that you sent out this month with links to pre-filled email templates that all I have to do, and you do that so that I can send one-click send, and I'm not raising any red flags on email servers. It's coming from my email address with my email signature, and it's just and it's already all done.
That's it. It's done for you. There's very little. That's one of the things I love about it. And it's also what it does for the real estate agent, for example, is it creates a lot of consistency and discipline in your farming. And you know, Tom Ferry, all these amazing coaches are like, be consistent with your farming, be consistent with your farming. And they leave the conference all full of vim and vigor. And then they're like, how should I be consistent with my farming?
Exactly. How do I do it?
It's hard to do. And so we just like enforced that, like just because of and it becomes really hard for other agents in your farm to horn in on your farm at that point. After you're sending them handwritten notes and then you're doing the digital marketing follow-up, man, if there's someone interested in selling their home, you're going to be the person that you're going to be top of mind, which is what everyone's going for. And then we give you a digital marketing strategy in a box, which you didn't have before. And so Buffini and Tom Ferry and all these coaches and Larry at Ninja Selling and stuff, they're like, LinkedIn. You got to be consistent with LinkedIn. For example, they're like, how do I be consistent with LinkedIn? Well, first, the little secret is you have to be connected with each household in every neighborhood across your entire farm. And that's really hard to do because if you have someone's physical mailing address and their first and last name, which LinkedIn profile, like how do I even highly manual process? And we find all those. And so you can connect then with everyone using a tool like Octopus CRM or another Chrome plugin, you can just connect with all of them. And the cool thing too, is you can then go to Follow-Up Boss and enrich the data accordingly. So you can then add, if you're missing LinkedIn profile URLs and emails, for example, now you can enrich the data inside of that CRM. And data is power in marketing.
So similar to the spreadsheet that you're sending for the email templates, is that how you're providing the LinkedIn? You're providing a spreadsheet with all of their LinkedIn profiles.
Yes, and also
like geo-targeted to what your mailing territory is.
Inside of our app as well, you get all the scan alerts are all consolidated in there inside of our app, and so you can see the scan alerts. And then email, if you want to one-click email people directly from your app, no problem, you can do that. If you want to one-click connect with people into their LinkedIn, you can do that directly from our app as well. But we found that there's a lot of people that just love spreadsheets. They've been using them forever, and so we send those as well, and we just deliver them in the form of a Google Drive.
Is there the last piece that I'm thinking is custom audience and Facebook marketing of that mailing database? Is that accessible to your customers as well?
Yeah, so we don't actually open up, Facebook campaigns for our customers. A lot of people,
but if they have that data in the spreadsheet, it's easy to upload to Facebook as a custom audience.
So you're providing all of their information on the spreadsheet, and then we can take the spreadsheet and upload it.
I mean, they
as a custom audience.
Yeah, and if like you're using Follow-Up Boss and Whitley as an example, Whitley automatically takes your CRM data and builds a custom audience in Facebook and automatically retargets them with like video ads.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a super cool alternative. Yeah, that's a lot of different angles that there's no way you could do that on your own. I mean, you'd go crazy.
We
And you couldn't do it consistently.
Yeah.
there's a title rep who hasn't been in title for very long, who sends a custom handwritten note card, but he's actually writing them.
Yeah.
He sends them to every person that he meets. So he
Wow.
sent one to Dustin, and he sent so he does his daily prospecting. He wakes up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. Before the end of the day is over, he literally goes and sends those handwritten notes out. And
then he puts his hand in a bucket of ice water for an hour.
He puts his, and it's like, but the thing is, it's like, nobody does it. Yeah. So it's such a treat when you get it. And it's not reciprocity. That's not the word I'm looking for. Like, we do things that create such a sense of reciprocity with people. And so we keep doing those things. Like, it's how can you create those magic moments or experiences with customers and potential customers? Yeah. I don't think anyone does that traditionally with handwritten note cards anymore.
That's it. Yeah.
No, and listen, to go back to the question of authenticity, I think the authenticity is in the fact that that's the communication method you choose, right? Mm-hmm. Because whether you're using technology to scale or automate that communication, you're still doing it. It's still a handwritten note. You probably came up with the text, but you wrote it once and then it's being delivered. Authenticity doesn't end when you use technology and automation to amplify your efforts, right? The very fact that you determined that this is the way I want to communicate with my prospect base, my database, my past clients, whatever. Yeah, and I love the QR code. That's absolutely brilliant. I was one of the people 10 years ago when they started talking about QR codes, and I was like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Why would I? I'm not going to download an app.
I think we all said that.
Yeah, and now I'm like the biggest fanboy ever. It's like all cell phones. Awesome. You just pointed at it. And integrating that in, that just enriches the experience so much, because like you said, you send that to, and because it's a Pearl, because it's a personalized URL that QR code is going through, you can create a landing page with a video on it that touches on exactly that you can relate to them specifically. It's like, hey, I'm glad welcome, whatever you said, the community residents. I'm really glad you're here. I'm super excited about whatever is going on. Our home values have gone up 17% in the last 12 months, and we're all really excited about it. I've created this resource for you to get more information on what this means to you, whatever the case is. But being able to personalize those messages, that's just, wow. This is, I love this because there's so much you can do with it. But it also sounds like, just if you don't overthink it and you don't overcomplicate it, it's fantastic out of the box. But if you really wanted to noodle on it and try to figure out how to segment some of those lists and segment some of those experiences, you could create some really, really cool, super high converting contacts and conversations using those tools. So
yeah. you have a lot of, like we talked about, you have a lot of data analytics on sort of what messaging works best. So you have a lot of realtors, lenders, they close a transaction with the client. Like, what's an example of a campaign that they would use to try to get more referrals and repeat business with that closed customer?
Yeah, so you can do that a bunch of different ways. You can just send over a spreadsheet. We have integrations with working on one with an incredible CRM called Follow Up Boss. Yeah, HubSpot.
That's awesome.
I've heard good things.
Salesforce. HubSpot. We're working on integrations there, so you can send a note directly from a contact object. But the way that you would surprise and delight your current clients at scale. For example, what I do is, so I use our app, but I also supplement it with a spreadsheet, because what you can do is take, let's say there's 500 people that you want to send New Year's cards to, second week of January. So you take that spreadsheet of the 500 people, and you could just do an additional column for the customized line that you want to say at the beginning. So that line might be, hey Scott, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your podcast in December. Let's make sure we get together at the next Inman conference or whatever, right? So you want to customize that. And then you just name that a merge variable, like it could be custom or whatever. And then we know that in the template, that goes at the beginning. And then the rest of it is just
the rest of the message
is just boilerplate, right? And that's kind of how you want to scale these things, unless you wake up at 4:30 a.m. and you're writing to everyone you ever met. That's different.
Wow.
But this guarantees also that the handwriting is going to be really easy for them to read. And I can't emphasize that enough. Like, it's actually a little bit of a curse. And you're very unlikely to write something that's 700 characters when you're doing it yourself, especially after the third or fourth note. This allows the wine to decant a little bit. It allows it to breathe. So you can tell the story about what you do and whatever else. And so that's how I do it. And inside of our app, you can tag things. And so you can tag stuff, whatever you want. You can do customers, you can do VIP, you can do certain neighborhoods, you could do whatever tag you want that makes sense for micro-segmenting your database.
Yeah.
And you can choose that tag and you can select all those people. And then right inside of our app, you can do unique lines per person. And that just automatically gets inserted at the beginning of each one. And then they just get sent out. Literally, you can, we've run the math, and you can send 400 notes in the time it would take you to do to handwrite 40. So it's 10 times the speed of handwriting. And most of all, it's gorgeous. Like, it's a little more art. Your worst case scenario is you send someone something that they really enjoyed reading and that they enjoy keeping and displaying. That's your worst case scenario from sending one of these notes.
So so they log onto your app, and I assume you probably have a library of templates of pictures, but you can upload your own.
You can upload your own. We pre-populate your app. That's actually important. When you become a client of ours, we pre-populate your app with a suite of creative. And those creative are all based on your farm. So if you're a real estate agent in San Diego, we will populate, hypothetically, we'll populate it with all kinds of creative around landmarks that are then put through our software that creates this like watercolor kind of version. We put everything through filters that optimize for keeper. You can't really see this, but this is like a Monet, like impressionistic watercolor artsy type thing. We do everything. And then what we do is we create a thanks one, congratulations, Thanksgiving, New Year's, holiday. We create about 15 different creatives for you. Again, you can send one-off images to your heart's content. But the way to scale this, if you're trying to surprise and delight your buyers, the way to really scale it, not drive yourself crazy, is you choose something that we've already uploaded into your app that's guaranteed to be beautiful and a keepsake. And then you select a bunch of contacts, and then you customize each one slightly, which is fun too. It's like you visited with Scott a little bit there. You didn't just mindlessly send, and Scott probably wants to hear something custom, and it would increase the keep and display rate and response rate. So that's kind of the most efficient way to do it.
So what is the average duration of one of these campaigns? And again, I'm trying to think of what could somebody possibly say about this. Like, you have 12 months worth of 5 letters in 12 months. And then the second 12 months doesn't just restart the exact same 12-month campaign, right?
Yeah, well, you want to send a new note to the same household every 10 weeks in perpetuity. And that's you just think about that as it's a pretty modest investment. It's somewhere.
Do you think if somebody's already doing that to their farm, if they're doing just listed, just sold, and those sorts of postcards?
Yeah, just listed, So this is not mutually exclusive to other marketing. Like my recommendation is anything that's working for you, continue for sure.
Yep.
The one caveat there is if you're bombarding people's physical mailboxes with just sold pieces, you could definitely eliminate that piece of your marketing and do this. We send them every 10 weeks so that you can do all kinds of stuff in between each mailer. So these are 10 weeks apart. And so in between, again, modern marketing, you want to send the emails, you want to make LinkedIn connection requests, you want to post content on social media, you want to do all these things. So again, it's all about consistency and familiarity and trust. And so we do it every 10 weeks, whether it's year 1, year 2, year 3, you're doing a different note with a different creative and something. And so you just run the math as a real estate agent, for example. If you're hitting $1 million home, right, and your commission after you pay your brokerage is, let's say, $25,000, 2.5%. Does it make sense to make a $12.50 or $15 investment per year in that household for the optionality, for the possibility that they're going to turn into $25,000 listing? I will sit at that in Vegas all day long. And the answer is yes, you just want to continue it. So the name of the game is not to do the year and send 5 and then just relax, although they will have your notes, but it's to every 10 weeks, you can just continue and you can have a lot of fun with it in a year. Do a really fun, Thanksgiving one, do a really fun, New Year's card. And then, do a fun house anniversary card, because we let you know when the person's house anniversary was. So you can then send a card that way. We even generate unique creative whenever you sell a home. And so we create a just closed creative, and we even put that person's home through our software. So it creates this beautiful impressionistic version of their home. And then you can use that as a just sold piece with our notes, and you can post it to social media and so forth.
Yeah, and Ricardo, if you're doing just listeds, just solds, I mean, they've got that really great bridge from the physical media to the digital media with the QR code. So you can pull them there. And I'm even thinking of like some socially conscious sort of, maybe you're doing a fundraiser for a community fundraiser in that area. Maybe you're doing a food drive or a toy drive in the community for a family, and you do a one-off out there, something like that, and you're going to a landing page where they're contributing, or here's instructions on how to help this family, or how to help raise food or something like that. Super, super powerful. I mean, Ricardo, you and I have been we've been talking about this forever, and it's how do you bridge that physical mail to a digital message, and just a postcard with a QR code that's just all pre-printed is not nearly as effective. What did you say? In
the first 30 days, with our notes, in the first 30 days, you get, and the way we do the notes specifically with the front of note creative and everything, 6 times the response of printed postcards. And we've done tests to the same address, thousands to the same addresses with the printed postcard, and then with this, and it's 6x. And the asterisk there is it's 6x just in the first 30 days. And so the thing is, the half-life on the ROI with this is really long. And so you're going to get a lot more response over time with these, but it's just in the first 30 days, it's 6x, and it's 2.5 times the cost and 6 times the response. I'm no mathematician, but like that.
We're sitting at that table too all day long. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, this has been fantastic, man. Good find, Ricardo. This is Jesse, a great job on this. You really thought it out. Like Ricardo said, we like to talk to the innovators. We like to talk to people that are thinking about this stuff differently and trying to solve the really hard problems that your average busy professional just can't wrap their head around. They either don't have the technical acumen, or they have no idea of where to start building this assembly line of communication and conversation and conversion.
We're starting to use audience at Follow Boss. We're going to do it to engage our customers. We're going to do it to do like pre-event outreach and post-event outreach.
Yeah.
It's just as a salesperson, what can you do to create those little moments of little magic, I guess? What can you do to create an experience? And what can you do in your business to literally like create a competitive advantage for yourself? Because as salespeople,
my gears are turned over here. I'm just
like as salespeople, it's such a grind to do what we do. If you're a realtor, you're grinding. You've been the last 2 years have been like chaotic. You're grinding. So what can you do to surprise and delight your customers, your prospects?
Yep.
And again, just to create a competitive advantage for yourself.
Yeah.
This, I feel like, creates a competitive advantage for yourself.
Yeah. Door knocking gets old. Cold calling, texting, ouch. Cold emailing that's not following up on a handwritten note like this, ouch. You know, the response, and then even Facebook campaigns since Apple did iOS 14 update, right? Facebook response and return on ad spend has gone way down. And so what do you do? And in the age of COVID, right, where people are just longing, starving for that connection, to send a personalized handwritten note and form that meaningful bond with every member of your farm, and then and most of all, put it on autopilot. So it's autopilot farming. And then it's also sphere nurture. Like we have a whole set, we have a 6-touch sphere nurture campaign that we put on autopilot. So the moment you sell a home, right, or whether you're on the buy side or the sell side, even orphan buyer sphere nurture, we have a killer orphan buyer sphere nurture sequence that we can put on autopilot. We automatically detect when you've sold a home, or whether you represent a buyer or seller, and then we trigger the sphere nurture. You know, the fact is 92% of buyers and sellers right after the transaction say that they would work with the same agent. 17% end up working with the same agent. And it's all about nurturing your sphere. And so we put that on autopilot as well.
Awesome. Jesse, where can people learn more about you?
Audience.co. And you can fill out, there's literally first name, last name, email, and you can book a demo that way, get on a Calendly, and one of my colleagues would be thrilled to give you a 30-minute demo and walk you through the ins and outs of the platform and answer any questions and go from there. We make it completely risk-free. The plans are all annual, and they're all about driving new listings for real estate agents. And we work with mortgage and insurance and so forth. But there's a 45-day risk-free guarantee. I can tell you very, very few people end up exercising that because it works so well. And the moment the moment your first mailer goes out and starts landing in people's mailboxes, you'll know that this is completely different, because the phone starts ringing, you start getting texts, you're like, wow, there's a lot of inbound activity.
Awesome. Scott, where can people find more about you?
Findmywayhome.com.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
I got a lot of webinar content coming for you guys. So if you want to get on that list, go to ricardobueno.com. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Marketing Trench. Dustin, we miss you. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jesse. See you guys.
Thank you, Scott. Ricardo.